This time we're going to create a simple app using a Hive. So we're going to use Hive as our database. So for this application, we will going to add a package called Hive and the Hive underscore and Flutter because we're going to use Hive. So for the dependency, for the dev dependency, we're going to have a package called hive underscore generator and build underscore runner package. So we're going to close this pubspec YAML. So here we have our main.dart file and we create a folder called screen, and then we have a home underscore page.dart file. So this is just a stateful widget. So this time we initialize our DB, which is our Hive. So here in this main function, we make the main function as an async function, and then we have we will going to ensure the initialization of our Flutter bindings. This code here, and then here we will going to initialize our Hive, and then this code here is we will going to open the box, which is a box underscore dv. So which means we're going to have a database called a box underscore db. So in the home underscore page.dar file, we customize our code here. So in this scaffold widget, we add our app bar here. So inside the app bar, we have a title. So for the title, we have a text widget. Inside the text widget, we have a simple Hive app. So this is our title, simple Hive app. So we change the background color as well. So for the background color is a black 12, and then we also have a floating action button. So this is our floating action button. So the floating action button have an icon of add. So next we're going to create a function called show dialog. So this is our show dialog function. So for the show dialog function, we have a parameter. So we were going to require a parameter, which is a key and a controller for the first name and last name, and also a function called onPress. So we will going to return a show dialog, and then we're going to set the barrier dismissal to false. And then here for the builder, we will going to return a simple dialog. So we set a title. This is the widget, which is a text widget, and the title is add name. So if we're going to press the floating action button, so as you can see here, this is our title, add name. And then we add a content padding from left to right, which is 30. And then for the children, we have a series of widget. So here we have our text form field for the first name. So this is for the first name, a text form field. And this text form field is for the last name. So we wrap this text form field with the form widget so that we can enable our validation or validator. So there. So also for the button, here we wrap the button with padding, and also we wrap the button or the outline button that we have here with rows. So here this button will be the cancel button. So it will going to pop out, and clear the controller that we have, which is the first name and last name controller. And also here, this spacer, we add a spacer so that we have a space between the button. And also for this outline button, this is for the done or to proceed or send or uh, add our or create our data. So if we're going to try the text form field like Tadena, uh, yeah, Tadena, then JJ, so we can press done or cancel that. So if again to make the it's not working, our looks like our validator is not working because yeah, here in the on press we need to add a code here for the validation. So here if we're going to say final is valid is valid equals to underscore uh, form key dot current state, and then if not null, we're going to validate that, and then we will going to have an if statement. If is valid, if it's valid, if the valid is true, we will going to uh, say let's say navigate that to the page, and then we're going to clear the first name controller and the last name controller. We are going to clear those out. So if we're going to save that, let's open again. If we're going to hit done, we didn't enter anything, so that's why we have our validation. So we need to supply something here like J, then Dana, and if we're going to hit done, we're going to exit, and then it will going to clear those controller that we have here. So yeah, so next we're going to proceed on building the functionality for adding a or for creating a data to our Hive database. So now we create here a reference for our database, and also we create a function called create data. So this we will going to have a reference to our database, which is box.db. So which means that we already have a box which is called box underscore db. However, we can't use it directly, so that's why we have a reference to our box. So that's why we call this function dot box. So here in the line 19 to 23, we have a function called create data. So this function will going to create a data, obviously. So here we have a map for our data. So we just print out whatever value or data has been added to our database. So that's why if we're going to test that out, if we're going to add another like first name and then last name, if we're going to add that, we are going to print out the length of our box or data or the value that inside in our box. So next we're going to create we're going to retrieve the data or the names that we have in our box or our database. So now we created a get data function here. So first thing is we add a variable called is loading with a value of false. And then here we have a list called items. So this is an empty list. So we're going to put the or get we're going to use this to as a placeholder for our data. So this function called get data, the functionality for this is going to get the data that we created from our box or from our database. So here we have data, so we're going to get that, and we use a map to map the data from the database that we have or from the box. And then we will going to set that data, or we're going to set this data to our items. So we will going to reverse our data. So here we will going to set this data in the set state. Well, I mean, we are going to set the is loading as well to true. And then here in this line of code where we're going to disable, or we are going to set our is loading to false. And then we are going to override our init state, and we will going to supply the function here, which is the get data, not get date. It's not supposed to get data. Here's this get data. Yeah, get data. So get data and get data. So there. And then here in we will going to override the dispose function, and we will going to dispose the controller that we have, which is the first name and last name controller. So here in the scaffold, in our scaffold, we add a body. So if the is loading is true, the this widget called circular progress indicator will activated. And then if or else the is loading is false, I mean is yeah, if it's false, then we will going to display the this one, this list view dot builder widget. So here we will going to count the items that we have, which is the items or the list items that we have here. So this one. So we're going to count that, or the total length. And then for the item builder, we will going to return a list of tiles. And then we are going to access or get the first name and last name as our title for the list tile. So for the subtitle, we will going to supply that with a button or the outline button, and we wrap this outline button with a row so that we have a multiple button here in the subtitle for the list tile widget. So there, that's how we get our data or retrieve our data and display the data in our application. So next we're going to put a functionality for delete a button and update button. So here we add the delete functionality. So here we have our delete function. So we will going to have a delete data. So we will just have, or we will just need the key for the item, and we can delete that using the delete function for the Hive. So here in line, in line, or the delete outline button here in this line 89 up to 95. So here we apply or supply our delete data function, and we just need the key for the item that we wanted to delete. So if we're going to test that out, if we're going to have like Tadena, then we're going to add that name, and then we're going to add another name or data, and another thing, and then we are going to delete this thing. So our delete functionality is uh, functioning great. So next thing that we're going to do is for the update button. So this time we implemented the update functionality. So in this line of code, we create a update function called update data. So this update data function will have the data and the key of the items that we wanted to edit or we wanted to update. So this update data function, we apply or we use that here inside the update button. So here on the inside the on press, we create a text editing controller called first name and last name. So this controller will hold the first name and the last name. So we also use the show dialog function that we created, and it needs the key of the items and also a controller called first name and last name. So if we're going to hit the update button, so here, as you can see, we retrieve successfully the value for the first name and the last name. So here, if the text form field that we have here is the value is valid, then we can proceed to update our items or our data. So if the text like the last name, if we're going to leave that empty, if we're going to hit done, so here we have a we call this, we have an error or the validation, so we need to enter a last name. However, the first name is cleared out, so which means that we need to move the first name and dot clear and the last name dot clear. So we're going to move this code inside here, so there. So I'm going to supply a value, a new value, JJ, then the demo. So let's done that. So it's clear. If we're going to update again, so let's say junior. So if we're going to leave the last name blank, uh, so the first name is still there. So we need to supply any kind of value for this text form field. So again, let's do that. So you can see it's updated. So yeah, so here we will going to have if this form is validated, and then it will going if the validation is true, then we can proceed of updating our items, and then we will going to exit from the dialog and then go back to the home page, and then we will going to clear out our text editing controller. So for the recap, so let's recap what we did. So first is here in PubSpec YAML, we just needed this package, which is the Hive and the Hive underscore that Flutter. So we need this dependency. So for the div dependency, we need the Hive underscore generator and build underscore runner. So we're going to close this PubSpec YAML. So in the main.dart file, so we initialize our Hive. So we need to ensure our Flutter bindings, and then this we're going to initialize our Hive for the Flutter, and then we have our box called box underscore db. So and then we create a page or called homepage. So here for the homepage, so for the homepage, we use the scaffold, and then we have a title for yes, for the title. So we have an app bar and a title called Simple Hive App. So for the body of the scaffold, if the is loading is true, then we will going to have a circular progress indicator widget. And then if the is loading is false, we will going to uh, use or we're going to display the items that we have using the list view builder widget. Now we will going to display the we will going to display our data or the yeah, using the list tile widget. And then here we have a floating action button. So the floating action button, we can add data using this widget called floating action button. So we also created a show dialog function where we can add and edit the uh, where we can edit and add our data. So for the functionality here, so we have our functionality for creation of data, update or the create data, update data, delete data, and getting the data or retrieving the data. And then we also overwrite the init state and dispose the controllers that we have. So yeah, I think that's all that we have for this simple Hive app.